Well, we grew up in just outside North London. We had a normal family life, quite a large family. I've got three sisters, three older sisters and one younger brother. Um, my family weren't very rich. We lived, we ate every day. Mum and Dad were very good providers, but we weren't very well off. Then we moved a few times and we ended up moving to Essex, and then the family started to break up a bit. Sister got into medical problems, mental health problems. My father also started suffering with mental health problems. So it became a bit disfragmented, and I moved out when I was 15, and I moved into a friend's house, their family, and they put me up for a year. But at the same time I was working in pubs, in kitchens, learning my trade. I started when I was 14, and it's always fascinated me, food. I'm not poncy stuff, but just good, honest food. And then when I got to 16, I found a room in a pub where I was working, so I went into staff accommodation, and I did that until I was qualified. And then at 23, I decided I wanted to go travelling, do something different. So I ended up moving out, going to Israel, learning about the world really, and getting some growing up was the main thing, because I was very immature when I was younger. When I was in my early 20s, I was still quite immature. So I wanted to expand myself, so that's when I moved and travelled all over the world for nearly 20 years. And it was quite a fascinating, very interesting stories around the world, all the people that I've met. Because of the travelling, I mean, home is a difficult thing. I didn't have that concept of home. Because I'd always lived into staff accommodation, it's a room, and that's pretty much it. I didn't discover what home was until I actually became homeless, after losing my job in pub trade, because the company went into liquidation. And then I found out that you find out who your friends are, who your true friends are. Well, I came back from travelling. I was getting older now, and I wanted to come back to England. I think everyone wants to go back to their own country eventually. And I went into chefing again, when I worked in several different pubs. But while I was doing that, I was also starting to get a bit of a gambling habit with these slot machines in the bookies, playing roulette and stuff like that. And I was getting in a little bit of trouble, and I ended up having to move a couple of times. But then I went into the pub trade, started running pubs for a living, opening pubs that had been shut, reopening them, getting them running again. I did all the qualifications, got my licence, even went before a magistrate and became a correct and proper person, which most of my family thought was very hilarious. And I did that for nearly 8 years, and then the company I worked for went into liquidation, and I found myself with nowhere to go. And because the job came with accommodation, I didn't really know what to do. I'd never been really in that situation. I'd been homeless before, but that was through choice of travelling, but not actually. I had no money or very little money. I was right up north as well. I had no way of getting around with the dog and my belongings as well. I didn't know what to do really. I had no clue, and I struggled very, very badly with that. I mean, I just felt lost, and I wasn't suicidal, but you just think, what's the point? And no one, every time I turned around, no one would help, and it was quite heartbreaking. You go from being, a pillar of the community and to nothing overnight, and that's the hardest thing for me. We came to Bath, and I slept rough in Bath for nearly 3 weeks. So we moved into the night show, and from that point onwards, we went into a shared accommodation for 6 years. And then after 6 years, I managed to get the council house. Now, that is the most important thing in my life, apart from my dog, is my flat, my home. I'm very proud of my house, and the last thing I want to do is lose this home, because this is basically my home for life now. When I first went back into the night show, I met a guy there, Scott, and he was talking about the big issue. And quite frankly, I had no clue about the big issue. I'd heard of it, but I had no clue what it was about, none at all. I'd actually never seen a big issue seller until I came to Bath. So he said, you need to get some money, and this is a good way of earning some money. So I went, well, why not give it a try? And I went and badged up, got my first 2 free magazines because I had no money. So they give you 2 free magazines to start you off with. And I stood out pretty much where I stand now. And I stood there for nearly 7 hours and I didn't sell a single thing. And I just didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't have a jacket because you have to pay for the jacket. So eventually I sold one. And it was really, really good. Someone came up and they were like, "Oh, would you like a cup of coffee?" And I'm like, "No, I'm okay, thank you very much." And they said, "I would like to buy a big issue." There you go, and keep the change. And it was very nice, and it boosts you. It gives you a little bit of boost. And then the coming weeks, I obviously got a jacket within a week, so that made me a bit more visible. And I've been doing it now for 10 years. And it's just the satisfaction of actually getting up in the morning and having some job to go to, work. And a lot of people say, well, you've been doing it 10 years, can't you do something else? Well, I enjoy it. Why would I want to change? I mean, I've got my other social life with it, and it's made me a better person, I think. Yeah, it definitely made me a better person. And when you lose everything, everything, you can't take everything with you because you've got nowhere to take it with, or to put it when you've got it. So you lose all your stuff, your TVs and stuff like that. You lose everything. You can't take it with you. It's devastating. And to come back and try and come back from being, as I said, like a pillar of the community, and then getting back on track is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. So it gives you hope that you can overcome these things. I see a lot of people that just given up completely, and it's sad, and it's very, very sad. I've got a lot of empathy for people that are struggling. I've done talks at drug rehabilitation centres and stuff like this. Just to get more of an insight into it. And I think it also, the boost for me is helping others and doing volunteering that I do. I don't do it every week or every day, but I'm always out there looking for new opportunities to help other people. So, if it's raising money for charity or whatever it is, that is what keeps me going. That's what I really love about doing what I do now. Most people are so generous, and there was so many handouts that people were just helping me out. When I first moved into my flat, I didn't understand about electricity bills. I phoned up and they said £37 a month, so I had the heating on, everything. And then when you get the bill, I was like £200 in debt on this bill. And a lady that I knew, she'd heard about this, and she came up and she gave me the money to pay the bill, which is, it makes you sore. It makes you sore. So after that, 2 years and people helping me, I thought, well, what can I do to help other people? I was already doing a lot of awareness of big issue sellers and what it was all about and homelessness. I was already doing lots of talks around schools and stuff like that. But I wanted to give something back, so I turned back to my original trade, and I thought I could do sort of like a come dine with me at home catering experience. So I set up the company. Someone heard about the company and designed me a website for absolutely free. I got some business cards printed, and the idea of the company is that when I do a function, I try and take someone with me who's had no experience to give them some experience and see if they want to progress. Because obviously, being a chef, I can go into restaurants and talk to chefs because we've got a special code, us chefs, when we talk in different languages. But I can give introductions and get people more, because a lot of people that I meet or help are very dysfunctional and not very sure of themselves. So when they go to like interviews, it's sort of like it's not a great projection of themselves. So to give them an introduction is what I'm trying to hopefully do. But a lot of the functions that I do are through churches. I've got quite a reputation. I do St Michael's every year. They do their Friday fellowship, Christmas dinner. I've been doing that for the last 4 years. And I do a lot of volunteering for Manvers Street Church Cafe. People that run the cafe, which is obviously connected with the church, a lot of them are volunteers. And it's a social experiment, really. You got a lot of old people on Sunday don't have anywhere to go. And the idea is that once a month that we cook them a 3-course meal. So they have a soup starter, and then they have a roast dinner, which I cook, and I also make them a dessert. And the idea is to raise money also. But there's no billing sort of situation. It's not a set money. It's you pay what you think it's worth. And so far, we've made profit every month that we've done it. So, and every month it's a different charity as well. I don't necessarily always know which charity it is, but every month it's a different charity. So everything that's earned from that goes to that chosen charity. But it's also it's about helping people to have a community as well, and getting them to sit down to have a proper meal. I mean, I've even had friends come, just, you know, because I've cooked for them before, and they want to see what it's like in the real world of catering. But it's nothing fancy. It's normally roast dinners or Yorkshire shepherd's pies and stuff like that. It's all very basic food because, you know, you're catering for an older generation, if you like. So you can't do al dente vegetables. So they've got to be cooked, and it's it's very hard to come out of that. But it's a great experience, and it's the only thing I don't like is at the end when I finish and they want to pull me in front and say, "This is the guy who cooked it." I'm not doing it for accolades. I'm doing it to help, and I don't appreciate the accolade bit. I know it's very nice, but it's not what I'm after, and it's not what I'm trying to do it for. I'm not doing it for money. I'm not doing it for praise. I'm doing it just because it's something, giving something back. When I first became homeless, I mean, obviously I didn't know anything about services, or I didn't know anything. I've never been in that sort of situation before, and the despair was initially when I was living on the street. There's no way to describe it. I was so down. It felt like I had no friends. I had no money. I had very little to survive on, apart from my own wits. And to come from that and build yourself up over, you know, a space. This is, you know, only in the last 10 years, and I've come from that to where I am now. And it's, you know, the greatest thing about having your own place is, believe it or not, being able to leave your toothbrush in the bathroom. And it's very strange, but when people say what's the highlight, I said it's the fact that I can leave my toothbrush in the bathroom. Going from that to this, and I try and coach people and, you know, tell them that, you know, if I can do it, you can as well. And if people could just give themselves a little bit more credit where it's due, and also get off their backsides. And I think that's the hardest thing when you see people begging on the street. The thing that goes through my head is, get off your backside. Stop holding your hand out. Start doing something for yourself. And that's what I feel when I'm here. I think I've done it, I've achieved it, and I'm always trying to better it. So, and it doesn't get much better than that.